Welcome. Welcome to Vanadium. I'm Chris Rankin. The more I learn about this mad world, the more mysterious it seems. Today's episode couldn't have happened without the inspiring power of pain. It took years of bruxism or teeth grinding to show me how bad my nervous system could make me feel. When the sensations were at their worst, with me at their mercy, I kept thinking to myself, is pain really just data? Is all this spectacular agony just information? These thoughts into the science and meaning of pain are coming courtesy of an overwhelming toothache and recent emergency root canal. In the end, as much as it did hurt, it was actually the fear of future pain that really got me. What was happening was painful and scary, but it wasn't as bad as what the future might bring. In the middle of the agony, imagination became my worst enemy. It was overwhelming me with the fear of the monster I might face down the road. In the end, it was the psychological component of pain that defeated me. Pain is merely a signal in your nervous system that something may be wrong. It's experienced as an unpleasant feeling such as a prick, tingle, sting, burn, or ache. Pain can be sharp or dull. It may come and go, wax and wane in waves, or it can be constant. There are three primary categories. Nociceptive pain is caused by excitation of sensory nerve fibers or nociceptors that respond to stimuli approaching or exceeding some defined threshold intensity. This is classified according to the mode of noxious stimulation. The most common categories of this form are thermal, in other words, hot and cold, mechanical, like crushing, tearing, and shearing, and chemical. Think of chemical stimulation as the feeling of alcohol or something inflammatory in a cut or wound. This type of pain accompanies bodily inflammation. Some nociceptors respond to more than one of these stimulation types and are designated polymodal. Neuropathic pain is another type, caused by damage or disease of the nervous system. It can be subdivided into peripheral, central, or a hybrid form of peripheral and central. It's often described as burning, tingling, electrical or zapping, stabbing, or pins and needles. Bumping the funny bone results in a typical example of peripheral neuropathic pain. The third form of pain is the most confusing. Nociplastic pain is characterized by altered nociception or changes to the nociceptors, but without evidence of real or threatened tissue damage. This is encountered with something like fibromyalgia. A subcategory of this, psychogenic pain, also called somatoform pain, is caused by increased or prolonged mental or emotional stress. Headache, back pain, and stomach pain are sometimes diagnosed as psychogenic. Sufferers of this are often stigmatized because both medical professionals and the general public tend to think that pain from a psychological source is somehow not real. However, insiders and specialists consider this form no less real or hurtful than pain from any other source. Pain isn't monolithic. You realize there's a subtlety and depth to the experience. In 1968, Ronald Melzack and Kenneth Casey described pain in terms of three dimensions. The first, sensory discriminative, meaning the sense of the intensity, location, quality, and duration of the pain. The second dimension, affective motivational. This relates to the degree of unpleasantness and urge to escape the source of the sensation. Dimension 3 is cognitive evaluative. In other words, what is the meaning of the pain? How much worse will it get? Is there anything I can do? Pain's obvious purpose lies in diagnosing a problem. If you never felt pain, you might seriously hurt yourself without even knowing it. Or you might not realize you have an urgent medical problem that requires treatment. But why does pain need to be so intense? I guess the cries of the body just can't be ignored for one more moment. There are two flavors of pain, acute and chronic. Acute pain usually comes on suddenly because of a disease, injury, or inflammation. This can often be diagnosed and treated. It usually goes away, though sometimes it can turn into a long-term form. Chronic pain is the dark cloud that hangs over so many. It drains the life of sufferers like a vampire. Even though it's something so many in the world are forced to endure, science and medicine are behind in the race to understand the biology of chronic pain. It's strange that pain can both cloud and focus the mind. There's the quote, "The only antidote to mental suffering is physical pain," and it's often attributed to Karl Marx. I think his comment is meant to show a class distinction between two types of pain. One, the pain of the overtaxed body of the worker, and two, the pain in the mind of the bourgeois manager with the liberty for morbid self-reflection. Marx also said, "When the sufferers learn to think, the thinkers will learn to suffer." Hero of the show, Carl Jung, felt that life couldn't be properly experienced without pain. He said, "There's no coming to consciousness without pain." Alan Watts described it saying, "We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain." There's an age-old idea that mastery of pain brings insights and personal power. The demon that you can swallow gives you its power, and the greater life's pain, the greater life's reply, said Joseph Campbell in The Power of Myth. Ancient and modern philosophers have dedicated considerable analysis to the meaning and consequences of pain. Arthur Schopenhauer said, "There are two enemies of human happiness, boredom and pain." He also indicated that it affords a person a clear advantage to sacrifice pleasure in order to avoid pain. That's how damaging pain is. Even pleasure isn't worth the price. "The greatest evil is physical pain," said St. Augustine. I would have agreed with that 48 hours ago. Champagne for my real friends, and real pain for my sham friends. Tom Waits couldn't have been serious when he said that, because let me tell you, I wouldn't wish real pain on anyone, no matter what they did. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to lash out in a moment of suffering. I'm just saying it wouldn't be right. If I'm thinking clearly morally, no one deserves to be in pain, for any reason. Illness is the doctor to whom we pay the most heed. To kindness, to knowledge, we make only promises. Pain, we obey, said Marcel Proust. C.S. Lewis, author of the Screwtape Letters and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, said, "Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciousness, but shouts in our pains. It's his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." There's a great deal of pain in life, and perhaps the only pain that can be avoided is the pain that comes from trying to avoid pain, said R.D. Laing, 60s psychiatrist and expert on mental illness. Creative output is just pain. I'm going to be cliche for a minute and say that great art comes from pain. That's from Mr. Kanye West. I like this one. "It's so hard to forget pain, but it's even harder to remember sweetness," said Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club. The next quote gets back to the idea that pain is necessary to shape character. "Do you not see how necessary a world of pains and troubles is to school an intelligence and make it a soul?" said John Keats. Another writer saw the dark side of this universal human experience. Of pain, you wish only one thing, that it should stop. Nothing in the world was so bad as physical pain. In the face of pain, there are no heroes, said George Orwell in 1984. Biologists have shown that pain not only changes the life course of an animal that experiences it, pain leaves a mark on the sufferer's DNA, so deep that the offspring experiences further fallout from the painful injury. We're still experiencing our parents' pain, and our children will feel our own, no matter how hard we try to protect them. Sometimes I wonder, will science bring a future without the torture of physical pain? Or is it just an inescapable and essential part of life? We are not born at once, but by bits, the body first and the spirit later. Our mothers are racked with the pains of our physical birth, but we ourselves suffer the longer pains of our spiritual growth. That's from writer Mary Austin. Thank you very much. This was Chris Rankin with Vanadium.